Welcome to New Zealand Travel News, the segment where we go over the news that people looking to travel to or around New Zealand may care about. We are the team behind New Zealand's largest travel guide, NZPocketGuide.com. My name is Robin and this is Laura.
All right, let's start off this news segment with the recent vaccination efforts in New Zealand. Efforts. Said that rather weirdly.
Yes.
So, 91% of the eligible population have had their first dose of the vaccination. 82% of the eligible population have had their second dose. And then over 4,300 COVID-19 cases are in the community.
So the efforts of vaccination in New Zealand are, pretty substantial. It's doing really well. However, there are some major disparities in between regions around New Zealand. So that means that some regions are going to be, vaccinated above the 90% mark, and some regions are going to be well below. And that's going to create some disparities in what you can do in different regions in New Zealand. And that's what the government is going to try to work on in trying to even the disparity and make sure that everybody gets vaccinated.
All right, so our first piece of non-COVID related news today is from Radio New Zealand, published on the 14th of November 2021, and it's entitled, Hump Track Inches Closer to Becoming a Great Walk. The Department of Conservation expects to break ground on the country's next Great Walk before the new year, despite delays. It has been more than 2 years since the Tuatapere Humpridge Track was announced as the next Great Walk. It was originally expected to open late next year with an upgrade budget of roughly 5 million New Zealand dollars. DOC South Island Operations Director Aaron Fleming anticipated the final budget could be up to 7 million New Zealand dollars, and the track would open a season later than planned. COVID-19 was one of the causes of the delays, Fleming said.
Alright, so this track is going to be expensive, and therefore, the prices to stay in huts along the track are probably going to be quite high as well. I think they're going to start trying to follow, for most of the Great Walk, some kind of Milford Sound model where that main track over there is super expensive, and then, side tracks around are much cheaper. Okay, so there is still a lot of extensive work that needs to be done on the Humpridge track. It's not erosion proof yet, so they're going to probably need to do some swing bridge and some bypasses and everything like that. So it's still an extensive amount of work that needs to be done. So even saying that that's going to open a season late is not even a given just yet, and there may be some extra delays. So don't think that you'll be able to hike the Humpridge track in 2022. It may not be the case, but fingers crossed.
As a Great Walk. It might still be open as a
normal
walk.
It is. Yeah.
Okay, so our next piece of news is from the COVID-19 government website, and that was published on the 17th of November 2021, entitled Aucklanders to Travel Around New Zealand from Mid-December. Prime Minister's announcement earlier today that people can travel out of Auckland from the 15th of December to the 17th of January if they are either fully vaccinated or have received a negative test within 72 hours of their travel. People can also visit Auckland but will only be able to leave under the same conditions. From the 17th of January, there will be no requirement to show a vaccine pass or a negative test to leave Auckland. Aucklanders will be able to move freely throughout New Zealand.
All right, so finally Auckland is going to be reopen its border, and just right in time for Christmas. How convenient.
Oh, wow.
So the one thing to keep in mind, though, is that the vaccine passport is still going to be needed for quite a lot of things to do around New Zealand. Like, for example, something as simple as taking a ferry between the North Island and the South Island, or even hopping on an Air New Zealand flight. At that point, vaccination proof, i.e. the vaccine passport, is going to be needed. And hopefully they're going to iron a little bit of those bugs and annoyance on this system to be able to get that passport, because people like us would love to be able to get that passport, as we've been vaccinated for months. Yes, I have an agenda in this news.
MIQ rose to continue as is for now. So this is a piece from Radio New Zealand, also published on the 19th of November 2021. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said there will be no further revisions to the country's managed isolation and quarantine, in other words MIQ, and self-isolation process until the first quarter of 2022. She said any changes to the isolation systems would be a big step. There would be greater opportunities for New Zealanders who come home then, Arden said. We are really focusing on citizens and residents, she says, as opposed to tourists.
So, that's really clear, right? The main focus right now is to allow more freedom to locals rather than opening for international travels. So the look at the MIQ revision that they have talked about during this little segment right here has been scheduled for the first quarter of 2022. So that's literally what we were talking about during this live session a little bit earlier on. So they are going to start doing some revision in the first quarter of 2022. That also means that, they're probably not going to do much in January. The government doesn't usually do a ton of stuff in January. So, we're having first quarter, we have is January, February, March. That's the 3 months that we're having to work with. So if they start making some announcement and doing some consultation with experts and everything like that, they're probably going to start looking at actually doing some things in March. Once they announce it, they start implementing things. It really kind of shows us that for the first quarter of 2022, it's highly unlikely that major changes to the current New Zealand borders policies are going to be made.
All right, moving on to our final piece from this travel news segment, which is our travel deals.
And it's not about New Zealand this week.
And it's not a New Zealand travel deal. This is a Fiji travel deal. So
Why not?
let's get started with Blue Lagoon Cruises Border Buster sales, date extended. There are still plenty of seats available on the Fiji Airways Bulla Bubble fares. Blue Lagoon Cruises have decided to extend the sales date of their current offer through to the 15th of December 2021. So cruising from the 3rd of January 2022, book their Border Buster offer and you will receive 30% off any of their 3, 4 or 7 night cruises, plus get a free cabin upgrade, plus a 100 Fijian dollar bar/spa credit per cabin. Travel is valid from the 3rd of January 2022 right through to the end of March 2023.
So we decided to showcase a travel deal for Fiji just because first, we do run a website called FijiPocketGuide.com. You may want to check it out. It is the largest travel guide to Fiji ever made, so it is pretty awesome. Second, Fiji is reopening its border to pretty much everybody, so that's why this deal is called a border buster. And since we keep on telling you that you can't come to New Zealand, we thought, what about we tell you where you can go? And so that's what we decided to do. Anyway, this cruise is pretty cool. Again, this is not a sponsored segment. It's literally just good deals that we found online. And so yeah, this deal is pretty cool with Blue Lagoon. Those cruises, they include like all the meals, they include like most beverages, plus you get a beverage voucher, which is pretty cool. Ton of activities on the boat and off the boat also, which is pretty cool. And that goes around the Mamanuthas Island and the Yasawas Island. So there is plenty to explore. Yeah. All right, so that wraps up this segment. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to reward our hard work and stay up to date with our videos. Plus, check out NZPocketGuide.com and FijiPocketGuide.com for thousands of tips, hidden gems, and much more.